This is a review of the MOM5 Micro Octaver from Guyatone. It's a very versatile pedal. You can use it in a variety of situations, from a more subtle use to thicken up your single lead lines and single note riff ideas, to a more in-your-face direct sound for its octave use, and also to produce some synth-like textures as well, and also a less obvious way to use it as a clean booster pedal. Now I'll be using a Minaric Lotus Studio Extreme through a Fender Blues Junior, and with just a small amount of reverb just to add some space to the sound. Nothing more, so that you can hear what the MOM5 has to offer. The MOM5 has your three basic knobs across the top. You have an octave 1, dry, and an octave 2. Now the octave 1 is just going to replicate your sound one octave lower, and the octave 2 is going to replicate your sound 2 octaves lower. Now the dry is just simply going to be your guitar signal going through the unit, and you can bring in as much octave 1, octave 2, and your dry signal in as much as you want. So if you want just a small amount of octave underneath of your tone, you can have that. If you want to totally take out your tone and just bring up the octaves, you can do that. It's got a lot of versatility. Right below the dry knob, you have a filter switch. Now if you have it all the way up where it says off, it's going to introduce a little bit of grit into your sound. It's going to give you actually a little bit of a distorted octave tone underneath of your sound. If you move it into filter 1, F1, it'll give you a much cleaner, warmer sound to the octave. If you bring it into F2 at the bottom, it'll make that sound even more warm, more round, and in fact they call it sort of like an organ tone. Next to this, you have an important knob called the input Attenuator. What that does is if you have pickups that are average or low output, you can turn that clockwise to get a stronger signal. It's kind of like a trim input for a microphone. And if you have active pickups or stronger output pickups, you can of course turn that level down so you're not overloading the MOM5. And again, keeping with the thinking of making these boxes very small and compact, they also put the input, output, and power jack on the top of the MOM5 and not on the sides. So if you want to fit more of these units on your board, you can. You don't have to worry about any of the cables sticking out of the sides. Everything is across the top, which is a really nice feature. Also, for sake of this demonstration, I took off the stomp guard, and what it is it's like a roll bar that comes across here. You can see where these screws are. This will prevent your foot from accidentally hitting these knobs underneath, or your toe from slipping as you activate the unit, and possibly even turning these knobs up here. What I'd like to do now is demonstrate what the filter switch is going to do to your sound. Right now it's off, which is going to introduce more grit into your octave sound. So if I play a little line here, and go to the F1, hear how it warmed it up right away, took off some of that grit, and then filter 2. Now you're going to hear this analog sound, which really gives a lot of warmth and a lot of character to it. It really lets each note kind of breathe in a way, and give your playing a little bit more character than a real sterile octave sound, which I think is really cool about this pedal. Here's a way that I like to use this pedal, and I've actually been making a lot of use of this lately, and that is what I'll do is I'll bring my guitar signal up just so that it's the same as my amp. There's no boost, although I could use this as a boost as well, just by bringing up the dry knob here a little bit more than my amplifier volume. That's one way you could use it. And of course what I'll do is I'll keep it the same level, but then I'll bring my octave 1 up just a little bit, maybe around 8 o'clock or so, just to give me a little bit of beef underneath of my line. So without the pedal, if I were to play something here, that's without the effect. And then with the octave, you can hear how it just brings in a little something underneath of my sound. Now that's also with the filter switch right in the center at F1. I could also demonstrate that with a little more grit with the filter switch on off. And then I could put it all the way down on F2 for even a warmer sound. Now what I'm going to demonstrate is with the octave 2 up as well as the octave 1. Alright, so now you're really getting a lot of beef on your sound. So you can really hear how low this gets. If I take out the octave 1, and then bring it back in a little bit, kind of fills it out just a bit. And it's nice if you want more of a hollow sound, at least that's what I think of it anyway, with just the octave 2. You get that kind of a thing, and then of course you can bring in the octave 1 and just get a fuller sound now. Again, with octave 1 and octave 2 up, right around 8 o'clock or so, my dry signal, the same as the amplifier. I'm going to bring the filter switch down to F2 now and play some lines. First without it. And then with it. And it tracks pretty well too. I can play these faster lines and it hangs in there pretty nicely. And you can also play in the lower register too. Now a lot of people will tell you and they will suggest that with the analog units that you don't go below the 12th fret. I actually find it kind of cool to play right below the 12th fret. You can still play some lines. And this is octave 1 and octave 2 up, so I'm really getting a deep sound now. Now you're going to hear it's going to be maybe a little muddy, maybe it introduces more grit than you want, but that's okay. I mean, if you're looking for that sound, this is the way to do it. And if you want to play some faster ideas too, with this. You get that kind of muddiness in the background, but I think it can add a lot to your sound. And then of course I can put this off, this filter switch, and introduce more of that grit as well. Of course you can also use just the octave signal as well. And right now I have the octave 1 up, so you're just getting one octave below. I have the filter switch off, and if you really want to add some character to your sound, something a little bit more wacky, you can try this out. This will be F1. And then finally F2. Now I can also bring in just octave 2, so you get a really deep sub sound.